Hey guys, it's Morgan Zegers, and the radical left is making major moves in Congress. You've got to hear what happened. I'm about to explain it to you. Keep watching. So the first thing you really need to understand here before we get into the details is that there's massive infighting going on in the Democratic Party on the Hill specifically. The big rumor right now in Washington, D.C. is that Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she is going to retire after the 2022 midterms, leaving her leadership position open and up for grabs. Now the big question comes of who the heck is going to fill Nancy Pelosi's seat. Well, that's where the infighting really comes to a peak between the establishment Dems and the radical socialist left. Now, this all makes perfect sense when you follow the money, when you look at the actions of both sides. And specifically, I want us to look at what's going on the side of the radical left. For years, they have been building a movement, fundraising, and really working to build out their campaign arm of a situation where they aren't attacking Republicans or conservatives in general elections. Instead, they are putting all of their money and time and effort in races for deep, safe blue seats where they can replace in primaries the Nancy Pelosi types with the AOC types. And we saw that first happen with Joe Crowley in his deep blue, safe New York City seat. When AOC came in during a primary, he didn't take her seriously, and what do you know? She became the youngest congresswoman in American history. The more people they do this to, the more progressives they get into the seats of establishment Dems, the more power the Progressive Caucus and the AOC side has when it comes to filling in leadership positions for the Democratic Party. And that's exactly what's playing out right now as Nancy Pelosi makes her way out and the fight ensues on who's going to fill her seat. So the situation right now is that establishment Dems are losing power and they have to appease the radical left. And that's why we saw Senator Schumer announce this week that he is going to work to propose the legislation that will create exemptions for the filibuster. It's appeasing the radical left when he does this. And this is where it gets even worse. This behavior, these tactics, are long-standing practices of the radical left. We saw this specifically in Venezuela, which is the most recent country to fall to radical leftism. And what happened is democratic socialists, or so-called democratic socialists, were democratically elected into power. But once they got power, yes, they seized the means of production, they implemented economic socialist policies. But what they also did is started to change the government and its structure. They started to remove any protections inside of the founding documents, and by doing that, they removed any limitations that were placed onto their power, intended to make sure that they didn't get too much power. Of course, they would want to give themselves more power. So we're seeing that play out today, and again, we're seeing that with the Supreme Court packing, the wanting to get rid of the Electoral College, and now with the removal of the filibuster. The radical left is gaining power and trying to remove protections and checks on power in our system. This is completely un-American, and just like we have to stop them from packing the cord and ending the Electoral College and every other crazy thing they're doing, one of the most important things we can focus our attention on is to protect the filibuster. If we lose that, we are going to face a rough road ahead.